chat section. Okay. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Well, a lot of these seem more defensive, so I guess we'll try to siege some forts here. Should be interesting. Against the British. Huh. Well, where's everybody coming in from today? We have Americans watching. So I'm basically doing this just to see if anybody has questions about 18th century warfare or the 7 Years' War specifically. I didn't get to play All the Nations yesterday, so I'd love to get to the Russians and the French eventually, and so I figured I'd do some Russian stuff today. Country that was neutral during the 7 Years' War but had its main company fight a British company in India. Is it the Netherlands? I mean, it must be like New Hampshire. Oh, that's really cool. If you are coming over to the Netherlands, it must be like 9 o'clock at night there. Is that right? I can never remember the time difference. And then we're normally 5 hours away from Britain, but it's different now because they've done daylight savings time and we haven't until like this evening. So I do a podcast with a British guy, and trying to keep that straight is always a challenge. Hey Tucker, glad you're coming in from New Hampshire. Have you been watching the game for a while? Thinking about buying it? Incredible. I've always wanted a share in the Dutch East India Company. That would really clear up a lot of my grad school debt. I'd enjoy that. It seems like the game's mostly getting positive reviews, so that's exciting. It's always nice when people like the content. I'm speaking of between the British East India Company and the Dutch East India Company. So are you in the Netherlands now or in India? Dan Noodles. No way. There's a name I recognize. But as far as I know, these programs are fine. Yeah, 100%. You are correct. That is right. So the idea that units had two flags is kind of like a British thing, and a something from the American Civil War for us in the States. You know, it's in our DNA from that. But yeah, these Prussian units, each company would have a flag, and all would be there in sort of a big, you know, color guard in behind the center of the battalion. And yeah, so all 5 flags would be captured if the unit broke or got swept down by cavalry or something like that. But yeah, the Habsburgs and the British, they're have the more standard too. So that's why we do that. So like if both sides lost 20 colors, does that effectively mean? Okay, that's a really good question, and I guess like you could say that. I'm often hesitant to like do that kind of like back of napkin math in my like scholarship, but yeah, I mean that's essentially what it would mean. I mean, or it could mean that 10 battalions each had a couple flag bearers who got unlucky. There are accounts from the Battle of Hokkirk in 1758 where like some like Fahnenträger make it out and others don't, and one officer's like basically wrapping the colors around him like a waist belt or something, and he manages to save the one regimental color, but a lot of the others are captured. So yeah, it kind of depends, but yeah, you could kind of do back of napkin math like that. Never seen it played. Tucker thinking about getting it. Oh, I'll have time for a new game over Christmas. Yeah, I mean this is always the struggle. It was easy when I was in college and like Skyrim came out and I could just play a game for like 2 days straight. But right now I'm on Halloween break or All Saints break at my college, and so I'm able to stream a little bit. I'm only going to be doing it for like an hour today probably, but I'm thinking, some of my students, my undergraduates, were on yesterday asking like, oh, does this count as office hours? Maybe I should just hold my office hours via streaming. That would be more fun than sitting in my office. Probably the university wouldn't like that though. Are you in the States, Dan? I could never tell on like Reddit or Twitter. Okay, where are my actual musketeers at? Right here. Yeah, I saw that, but I was thinking about starting to stream up, and I didn't want to take people away from Griffin, because, I mean, obviously it's his game. So I'm just going to do a short one today, and maybe I'll do some more tomorrow, but I've got kind of a lot going on tomorrow, so we'll see. Maybe I'll do some later tonight. It's ya boy. I don't know what that means, but it seems friendly, so I guess I appreciate the sentiment. Okay. So Tucker, are you more of like a Revolutionary War guy, or do you like war game, the European 7 Years' War, or what attracts you to the game? Sorry if my question needled you a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't know what question. I just see good afternoon, and sorry, I just got the notification. I'm an all periods wargamer. Never played an 18th century game, but I played Sid Meier's. Nice, okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I played that game when I was a kid. And really enjoyed it. I guess there's been some there's been some other games since then obviously I played, but so Tiger, do you have a favorite period to war game, or like are you primarily a World War II or an Ancients person, or just everything is about equal? Here we go. So there was an effort to flank there. I mean, people are saying the cavalry's just charging directly in, and the AI's no good. But I guess it's still a frontal charge. But they at least tried to outflank and didn't just attack through their own infantry, which seems like a positive development. Okay, there go one of their recruits. Fields of Glory Ancients. Oh, nice. Ancients, Napoleonics, and BattleTech. That's really cool. Are you a what is it, like clan or like Inner Sphere? I don't know. I had a buddy in grad school who was really into BattleTech, and he loved House Merrick. The Free Worlds League, is that it? I haven't thought about this in years, so I couldn't tell you. But I think I preferred like the Steiner mechs, not because I think the Steiners kind of the bad guys, but because I liked the look the look of the design of the mechs. But I wonder what you play. Clan and Inner Sphere. My faction of choice is Star, which is like if AT&T had an army. Yeah, I think I recall a little bit about Comstar, but not much. Most of my experience with BattleTech has been like video games opposed to the tabletop. Although I do a surprising amount of sci-fi gaming. I'm like I played 40K when I was younger, and don't really do that anymore. But I do still do like 40K adjacent things like Horus Heresy. All right, let's see how we did. Okay, so I already have ammo. That's good. Let's go sell some stuff. Siege 2 forts and secure 7 settlements. All right. Okay. Sell equipment there. That seems like a really good stuff. So we're gonna hold on to that. Probably don't have any cavalry though. We get rid of those. Observation recruits. Oh man, we could actually afford a good bit here. Okay. Well, I hate to sell that. Let's, I guess, see what else we can sell. The spirits, maybe? Yeah. Could easily get the accuracy. That'll come in handy later. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so $9 left. Not ideal. But we've got some cool stuff to give the guys, don't we? Alright. So you have a lot of cool Revolutionary War sites in New Hampshire? I mean, there must be a ton of colonial history up that way. The Russians might mutiny if you take their booze. Well, it's possible. And it's good to see you again, Andrew. Do you think I should just hold my office hours on stream from now on? I think that would be more fun than sitting in my office. But then I'd miss seeing all my students in person, I guess. Should I raid the town? I guess we're on the offensive, aren't we? And I've already secured it. So yeah, let's just do this. That'd be fun. All right. I love getting free money. Okay, incredible. We don't have to clear any slums this time, do we? Train the boys as musicians. Let's train them on the bagpipe. Can they play the oboe? Clearly we want the oboe, right? Yeah, it's all about the oboe. Incredible. It's a great idea. I'm sure no one will have any problems with that. I don't know if you're talking about the war crimes or the office hours, but I can probably clarify with you on Monday. Secure 7 settlements, siege 2 forts. Interesting. Alright, let's see what we got here. We don't have any artillery yet, so we can get rid of that. I'm gonna assign some stuff here. You know what? Let's just go all in here. Morale, damage received, and move speed. Okay. The beat was pure fire, and so you were running like 50% faster. All right, cool. How do I leave? Help. Okay. $193. A little low ammunition. armies are. Normally I'm like swamped by this point in the campaign. Lots of colonial history, sites, museums. Ah, incredible. There's an enemy army I ran into while I was reading the chat. Not aware of any notable Revolutionary War sites. That's really cool. I mean, I guess depending on where you are in New Hampshire, you're probably only like a couple hours drive from like Boston and all the Rev War stuff down there. I mean, maybe not if you're all the way up at the top of the state. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Well, give me 1 second. My wife is yelling for me. I will return and see if we can't fight this weird British Expeditionary Corps in Courland in just a second. Sorry, my wife. Her football team won their game, so she was very pleased. They have been losing horribly the last 2 months, and they finally won a game. So she played in the band at WVU and is always a huge Mountaineer fan. So, of the minor nations involved in the 7 Years' War, who stands out? Oh, incredible question. Who do you like? I mean, I think it would be so fun to have the Reichsarmee in the game, or not just in the game. I think the Reichsarmee is one of the coolest factions in all of the 7 Years' War, game or not. The idea of having the armies of tiny little like micro-states is always enjoyable, and historians like Peter Wilson have kind of been trying to update how effective our vision of the Reichsarmee is in the last 10 years, 15 years. So I would say them. Saxony's cool because you have Poland too as like a add-on. But I think yeah. I mean, Saxony, Sweden, Portugal, Spain, Reichsarmee, they would all be good people to add. Based on the results of the stream yesterday, I would guess that if you actually wanted to like make money, you would probably include the Jacobites, because people are suckers for Scottish history, so I would say that's probably. Which would you prefer? The Dutch East India Company? It would be good for. I mean, how many? I guess you could have sepoys. I don't know that we're gonna have like other theaters. I would be surprised if North America and South Asia are included as theaters of war, but I guess we'll see. Okay, we have Subsidy Jaeger, who have Potsdam muskets, but not rifles. We got Warren musket, subsidy recruits, and some cavalry. All right, well, all in all, should be interesting. Oh, but they're already in the game, right? I mean, there's like a Brunswick tree in the British section. I mean, I don't disagree. I think I said yesterday in the stream, I wrote my master's thesis on the Braunschweig Corps in the American War of Independence, but I feel like we've probably got as much of Braunschweig Wolfenbüttel as I'm going to get. was trying to kind of advocate for Poland last night on Twitter. There's some wonderful sketches of the Polish army from 1775 that you can find for free on the internet, like a uniform guide, basically. So is the 18th century like big in the Netherlands? I mean, the only time I've ever been to the Netherlands was like, I guess, is the state of Groningen. They have like right on the border with Germany, but there were a lot of star forts. I would guess, you know, that generates tourism dollars, if nothing else. Okay, here come the cavalry. Until we lost to the French, then we become nothing. Okay, well, I mean, you're still something today. Like, seems like a bit extreme, but I like, you lose great power status, maybe. I mean, was I reading on the news that like the Netherlands has some Leopard 1 tanks left? Well, yeah. I actually looked at the combat before, like up close. It's very odd. I guess it's like, you know, Rome 1. Interesting. Your source. Oh, that's a really good question. Do you read German? I mean, I guess based on what you've just written, you do. Have you read the like the general staff histories? That would be a probably my first recommendation, and from there, lots of milling around. Yeah, exactly right. Just hold on a second. We'll see who gets stabbed. Oh, this is gonna be painful. I can hack through it. Yeah, then definitely read the general staff history. That would give you what you're looking for there. I mean, it's not like a deployment. Like I don't believe, at least, they do that at Leuthen. I'd have to review my notes, I guess, before I tell you with certainty. They definitely do that at Torgau. But they don't do it in Leuthen. Hey, hi, can I ask questions here? Yes, if you're real nice. But yeah, that would be what I would recommend. I'm trying to think if there's any. There's a. I don't think it was covered, but maybe not super shocking, in T.G. Atta's new book on the battle. But that was mostly a book on historical memory. Oh, incredible! These are the exact type of questions that I was hoping for. Probably 6, 7. Yes. This is what I went to grad school for. Yeah, that's a. I would say check the general stat history, and if it's not described well there, it's possible Hans Bleckman wrote something about it, but I'd have to check and see. Oh, message retracted. Okay. Remind me, did you finish a master's degree somewhere? And if so, I don't know. This is more like a private message type thing, but I'd be fascinated to hear like what you're researching, and you always have fascinating questions when I'm on Reddit or on Twitter or. Got this in the bag, yeah. Oh, Russia. Is there a trick to making them work early? I have much more trouble early than with Russia. Oh, no way. Did you work with Legere? I'm kind of on his do not fly list at the moment, so it's completely my own fault. So I'm excited to hear that you were able to be at UNT. That's pretty cool. So sorry, Preston. As you can tell, I have a completely organized mind. I would say the trick to making them work early. I guess it depends where you mean early. But probably buy lots of infantry and just kind of like get the army bulked up, rapid, which is not hard. You've got great morale, so you're not gonna break early on. It's going to be a struggle to get anywhere because you're really slow and your stamina's pretty low. But you're also not going to run away. So like if the enemy comes to attack you, it's going to be very easy to win. I honestly think Russia might be one of my favorite folks in the very early game. I think I may have. I don't know if I've played them all the way through the end of Act 1 yet. Yeah, so Dan, back to your beefing is pretty strong. I feel bad. Mike is a great guy, and I did not mean to throw him under the bus, and I basically tried to sort of say 3 times, I think, before I commented that I think he's an incredible Napoleonic historian and he knows more about the Napoleonic Wars than I ever will. But yeah, I really kind of messed that up, and that's on me. Ah, incredible. Well, I mean that is I guess not the middle section of that is not incredible, but I'm excited to see that you landed on your feet and life is going okay. You ever think about adjuncting anywhere? Yeah, no, that's true. So I mean, Preston, I guess I would say you need to have a larger army to win battles early on with Russia. There's no question about that. Whereas Prussia can kind of fight above their weight even with Cantonists, which is kind of crazy. I would focus on maybe trying to get more observational recruits, and you basically just want to like park your army in cover with Russia, which is kind of what I do with everything. But it's definitely more of a positional army. And I don't actually know that the Russians are super great in melee. Try to get buckshot. Yes, okay, interesting. Are you still in North Texas then? Like in the like greater Texas area there? Oh, well, that's exciting. Oh my gosh. Look at you. Well, that's fun. My cousin's out in San Francisco occasionally, and he's a like a more 19th century military history nut. I should link you guys up. Although it's showing how little I know about the universe. I mean, San Francisco may be nowhere close to Silicon Valley. I have no idea. California is a world beyond my experience. I'm an East Coast person. I was experimenting on hitting one enemy unit in line with two of mine in column, not having great success. Yeah, I will say charges in column in this game and in the 18th century generally are possible, but they're not necessarily always what you hope for. I think. Oh, well. Shoot, I hope it's an AI or something like that, or not like nuclear weapons tech. But that's delightful. Yeah, well, in that case, I mean, he's actually in DC now, but I'll at some point we should link up, and I'll give you his contact info. He's a huge Civil War nut and Napoleonic War guy, so I'm confident y'all have a lot to talk about. Let's sell this stuff. But yeah, Preston, I would say shooting rather than melee probably would be my my recommendation to you with early game Russia. But I mean, I'm just a shooting over melee guy generally, so that's kind of not shocking that I would say that. Okay, so easy come, easy go on the ammunition there. Who can we start promoting? Very exciting, yes. Okay. Okay. We have no artillery and no cavalry, but Hope Springs Eternal. Russian rider recruits, there we go. Well, Andrew, I'm sorry that you were having Vietnam War flashbacks there. But I hope you sign up for my History of Russia class next semester, because you'll be able to relive your first partition of Poland trauma in real time. Okay. That's the ILE in Eastern Europe next semester. Okay. So we've got some cavalry now, so I can still probably get rid of these gunner implements. Yeah. I haven't been burning down these towns that we've been going through, have I? That's a real mistake on my part. And at some point I have to siege the forts too. Whew, time's a wasting. Okay, so how is the campaign in auto-generating? Rogue, like, how many battles in an average campaign? That's a great question. I would say so far it's been less battles than average here. But I also just tried, like, I'm not a huge just fight to fight person. I think I try to kind of get through at least the first act pretty quickly. Yeah, but I like mainly I'm interested in the game for like the experience and the leveling up. Which, speaking of which, we should really pick out which Russian musketeers we're gonna use here. So let's go to Kronoskov, and y'all know Kronoskov. I mean, I'm confident some of you do, but I never know how widely these things are utilized on the internet. It's an incredible resource for 18th century military history nerds. How about Kazansky? Yeah, that seems good. All right, let's open it up again. We just promoted these guys, right? Is that about right for Kazansky? No. Okay, so let's work on this, and we're gonna change the emblem. Do they have the dragon? No, they don't have the dragon. Okay, well, let's pick a different Russian katana. All right, yeah, this is gonna be an easy sell because this is Moscow. All right. Oh. Let's see. Yeah, that's actually just about right. Oh, that's like a bluish green. Maybe I'll do more of like this for the color. Yeah, I guess we'll go with that one. Okay. Moskovsky. All right. Oh man. Okay. The chat is exploding here. Okay. Hello. Glad to see the game's off to a strong start. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Good evening, Ryan. How you doing? Oh, no way. Civil War. Yes. Oh, that. Wow. Phil Kearney is surprisingly based. That's incredible. Totally different question here. Oh, what? Just finished reading Military Experience of the Age of Reason. Man, you're a man of class here. And reading, because essentially, well, I appreciate that. And anyone who's reading Christopher Duffy, you're, 1,000 blessings be showered upon you. How different in doctrine and ethos were these armies? This is a great question, and a huge question. Maybe more like a podcast question as opposed to a stream question. But there are arguments that scholars make, like for example in the case of Britain, David Blackmore, I was just talking about this at Fort Ligonier this morning, that the British Army has a doctrine of closing to very, very close range and opening fire on 50 or 30 yards or less, whereas other 18th century armies clearly prefer to open fire at a longer range. Yeah, I think most 18th century armies are capable of executing the majority of the tactics of their opponents. I mean, there are maybe in the 1730s or early 1740s, or early 1750s, there are deployment methods that are not common across all 18th century armies, but it's kind of up to the battalion commander. I just read this quote this morning to a group of folks at Fort Ligonier, but at the Battle of Fontenoy in 1745, a brigadier general is riding behind the lines, and a battalion commander comes up and says, "Hey, would you like to engage the enemy with fire by rank or platoon firing?" And basically the brigadier general comes back with, "Man, I'll be happy to see you do either one, because I've only ever seen that done on like a review day or like on the drill square, not in practice." So I guess there are probably different doctrines in practice, in theory, but the guys are actually fighting in fairly similar ways when you actually come down to the performance on the battlefield. I'm not sure. Oh man, I just killed a bunch of my guys there. So yeah, by and large, their armies have preferences, and particular commanders have preferences, but these are not looking to see what is actually done versus looking to see what is preferred by generals. I think is a huge part of trying to get this period right. It was so great to have a break 1 week first year grad school. I had already read military experience before. Oh, incredible! Yes. Christopher is amazing, or was, I guess, sadly now, an amazing man. No, I want to raid the town. Yeah. Okay. Yes, give me that money. Which, really, this isn't terribly thematic, so I apologize to the audience, I guess. I mean, the Russian army in the 18th century actually, it doesn't do a ton of raiding, and it's actually the Cossacks that travel with the Russians that are doing a lot of this raiding. So having a non-Cossack force that is just burning down people's towns doesn't seem terribly accurate or thematic, but hopefully you all won't report me to the 10-year review board for this stream. So Ryan, what have you been saying here? I've been turning all the subsidy troops I recruit into... Oh. Okay, hold on. I've been turning all the subsidy recruits I recruit as Austria into Bavarian and Saxon troops. Now that I've spotted the flag options, oh no! Okay, so yeah, you're adding in your own DLC armies just based on the uniforms alone. Well, that's exciting. I think with some of the flags you could also do some Reichsarmee troops justice pretty easily. So hopefully you'll include some of those for me. Is the British doctrinal focus more confused and divided than that of continental powers? Good question. I would say I think probably like in the Prussian case, the king exerts more individual control over army doctrine as a whole than maybe centralized authorities do in Britain. I mean, if you believe John Holding, right, there's not a huge amount of large-scale army-wide training going on, and so I think it's possible that engaging the enemy is and the specific methods of engaging the enemy are devolving more onto the regimental officers, and you kind of see that same argument. Matt Spring making that in with Zealand Bayonets, right? Is it's kind of more up to the junior level officers how the guys fight, but as far as being confused or divided, I was a little bit mean to the British Army in the stream yesterday, and I kind of feel bad about that. Which maybe is a theme in my life recently. But I guess I would say the British are certainly doing a lot of different things. It seems like across the 18th century as a whole, though, commanders are, officers broadly agree that advancing without firing is a great way, or sort of not being denuded of fire is a great way of kind of pushing the enemy off the battlefield. And they think that whether they're British or French or Prussian, I mean, there are John Sullivan in America is super excited when the Americans are advancing at Germantown with shouldered muskets, and Frederick is also advocating for this in the 7 Years' War. So that's not really an answer for you, Ryan, so I'm sorry if you were expecting something more cool and collected and organized in a video game stream. But I think that a lot of armies are having these conversations, and the British are maybe, because of the colonial nature of the empire, they are there's a bit more independence in how the regimental officers choose to respond to these situations. how closely were Britain and Hanover doctrinally? I've read that Hanover didn't adopt to 3 rank until after Hasselbeck. Yeah, this is a good question, and I guess I would say you certainly do see Hanoverian distinctions, like Hanoverian troops really seem to enjoy like quartering or like filing their musket balls, so they'll like fly apart in flight, in kind of do more horrific wounds to the targets, which is not something that I have seen a ton in British sources. In fact, I think I've seen in the War of Independence there are like the British and the Americans both condemn this practice. As far as adopting a 3 rank line, I'm always hesitant to like say, oh, they're smoking guns when these states are like, oh, they're at a 4 rank line now, or they're at a 3 rank line, or they're at a 2 rank line, because there are comments from historians of the Prussian army that basically said, hey, we form how, depending on this needs of the moment, we form in 4 ranks or 3 ranks or 2 ranks, or at the Battle of Strela in 1760, the Prussian army forms a 1 rank line as they're defending breastworks, because they're horribly outnumbered and trying to like lengthen their line basically. And so I guess I would say I'd have to review my notes, and I've got a trial subscription to the state papers online and the Cumberland papers specifically. So I'll look into what you've said here about the 3 rank line after Hasselbeck. But the long and short of it is they're definitely 2 separate armies in 2 separate states, and there are generals who have an influence on both states, but we certainly shouldn't. I mean, it's more like a personal union than one unified army. So I wonder how many battles were lost because the generals were engaged in. I don't know what you mean, Ryan, but I'm excited to see you give us another crack at that thought. I wonder how many battles were lost because the generals were live streaming when they should have been commanding the battle. I think that's the real question here. Thanks so much. I hope you're having a nice day / evening as well. Where you coming in from? Okay, cavalry's on the move. Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, hopefully I'm not like monologuing like Frederick here. Battle of Rossbach's almost lost because he doesn't want to stop yelling at people at luncheon. Instead, he's the French and the Reichsarmee are stealing the march in him, and he's monologuing. So hopefully I'm not doing that. No mercy. Okay, and we're being charged. Oh my. Well, that's Highlanders. That's not ideal. Man, we're just gonna take it, huh? That's a real shame. Okay, the cavalry are coming in too, so I guess we'll kind of change this line here. Ah, Poland! No way. Whereabouts in Poland? Got some good friends in Slovici, and also I've got a good friend who's a military archivist in Poznan. Just found out this stream. Can I ask, with the British backing the Prussians? Okay, well, I'm gonna treat that as more of a comment than a question. And I don't know. I mean, get some Canada and India. I guess is the thought that they would not have lost the 13 colonies if they had not backed the Prussians, or are we just saying that like it's a straight road from like 1763 right to 1945? I don't know if this is a joke or we're being completely serious, but regardless, I'm completely here for it, and I hope you're having a great day. I am looking for a rebuttal if you think so. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it was the most disastrous long-term decision they ever made. Is there any Junkar class in any of the armies during the 7 Years' War? Yeah, I've actually been thinking about this because there was an interesting article on War on the Rocks that basically made the argument that we're approaching like a post-liberal future where the U.S. Army is going to potentially look more like neo-Prussian in its outlook. I guess I don't know that there's a domineering military class. And I take your point about the Jacobites, I guess, but Andrew Mitchell says to Frederick, the officers in the Prussian army think Frederick is mishandling the war, and so Andrew Mitchell comments to him, who's the British ambassador, your officers are like an army of Jacobites, which is not intended to be a positive compliment, but instead is more of a you've got a real rebellion problem in your officer corps. So it's not to say they're not politicized, I guess, or they don't have political opinions, but they do have. They're not, I mean, obviously, like Junkers exist, right? I mean, like the aristocratic class is very important, but in the 18th century, it's Frederick certainly trying to keep the aristocracy and the peasantry kind of in tension, and it makes several key legal decisions late in the 18th century that actually favor the peasantry over the aristocracy. So back to this sort of like big history, long narratives question that Rockrose 82 is referencing. I guess I would say I don't think there's a straight road between 1763 and 1914. Yeah, I think there's so much stuff that, I mean, that would be like saying, oh, can you believe that America lost the war in Iraq because of its performance during the War of 1812? There's a lot of stuff in between, and I think it kind of irons out or flattens out contingency in history, that just because Britain decides to support Prussia in 1763, it means that we have to get to a place where 1914 and 1939 happen. I also don't know that a large German solution would have been better. I mean, the French Revolution happens, Napoleon happens. I mean, the British decision to support Prussia doesn't cause those things. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. Man, this is taking us to dark places, and I'm guessing that I asked people to get on here with questions about the 7 Years' War, and I guess did the 7 Years' War cause World War I is a question, but I'm not really interested in commenting broadly on 20th century history, because that's not really my field of expertise, my field of study. All right, let's go buy some more reservists. will say, Niall Ferguson was just mentioned. There was a very interesting, I think it was from the Hoover Institution, where he's debating with a number of other historians kind of about the great power politics of the 2020s. It's him and Victor Davis Hanson and a historian of Russia whose name I should remember, but it slips my mind at the moment. I really recommend it to you all if you're interested about what's going on in the world today and sort of, what will happen with the Taiwan Strait and things like that. I thought it was the most interesting thing I'd watched in that regard in a very long time. All right, well, I need to go and get ready for dinner because although Halloween was yesterday and today's All Saints, rain delayed trick-or-treating, so we're about to have hordes of angry children descend upon the house wanting candy. Oh, yeah. So, phenomenal question, and one that I would love to answer. So I've got a friend, like I said, who's a military archivist in Poznan. He's just written a book about a particular regiment. I think it's the 4th Regiment of the Polish Crown Army, potentially. But again, this is I don't read Polish, and so this is still a subject that I'm very much learning about. We're trying to get him on to talk about the Crown Army and just the Polish experience, military broadly in the middle of the 18th century. He's a reenactor in addition to being a history PhD and an archivist. So yes, I am very hopeful that we will have a Prime and Load episode on the Polish Army in the future, but it's also just because I really like Poland. I think if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably learn Polish as opposed to learning German, and try to do a little bit more Polish history. My friend and I watch the Jerzy Hoffman trilogy films about once a year, and Polish academics were a lot nicer to me in the course of my dissertation research than German academics in the same subject. But maybe that's a dark conversation for a different time. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Gary. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I might hop back on here a little bit later on this evening if there's time after the children have gotten their candy. Do you know any good examples of something like operationally independent divisions and corps? Yeah, sure. So there are. I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by operationally independent divisions. There are definitely combined arms divisions that are sent out to go and raid places like Poland and Thuringia in the course of the 7 Years' War. They're certainly not permanent. That is a huge change between the 7 Years' War period and the Napoleonic period. Is that these divisions, which are combined arms, are created in a sort of short, durable sort of time span for a particular purpose, and then sort of reorganized into their parent brigades in the main army when the job is done. With that said, I mean, obviously there are examples of a variety of battles from the 7 Years' War where there are combined arms groups or corps, they would have been called at the time, that are separated out to try and attack the enemy army from different directions. And of course, you see that at Hochkirch, but also battles like Torgau and Freiburg, which we just had the anniversary of a couple days ago, October 29th. The Knight Irish says Polish is only a short step from Hungarian in difficulty terms. Yeah, no doubt, man. I struggled with Koine Greek in undergraduate work, so I'm confident. Learning German was the easier decision as opposed to learning Polish. Did Christofi ever manage either? So he taught himself Swedish in order to read like diplomatic correspondence related to the 7 Years' War and Swedish like army attaché reports in Austria. I am not sure if he read Hungarian, I'd have to sort of go back and check. I mean, obviously he reads French, he reads German, he reads Russian. So with Russian and German, I can't imagine there'd be a lot of loan words that would be. I mean, my friend Jegors tells me that to some extent, like, he can understand a little bit of Russian in terms of like listening, because it's still a sort of Slavic language. So I would imagine if you have Russian, you have German, you have you would be able to try Polish. And Christopher was always very proud of his Russian language skills. He worked as like a functionary in the British legal system, and he like introduced a exiled member of a distant Romanov relative in the British legal system, like using her proper titles in Russian, and that was something that he was bragging to me about on the phone, I guess shortly before his death. So yeah, I mean, he's certainly a gifted linguist, more gifted than me, no question. But yeah, I'm not sure if he learned Hungarian or Polish. And yeah, I'm with you, Gary. I'm still kind of having Vietnam flashbacks from my time with Koine. So, all right, gents, have a wonderful evening, and I'll probably jump back on about like 8 or 9 p.m. EST to continue this campaign. So maybe I'll see some of you there, and if not, maybe I'll see you later on next week. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll try to do this again soon.